Hello out there, and I've got a modification video for you today with a couple TwoSun knives here and then the Kershaw deadline. And the deadline I'll save for last, and I'll go through that modification, but then also at the end I will cut to a point where the knife was disassembled and you can see all the pieces, including how this locking mechanism works and the tuned detent system as well. Some interesting aspects of this knife. And so we'll end on that. I will actually annotate down below to what time that part of the video starts. All right, but these two knives, the TwoSun knives, are from my buddy Everyday City Carry. I will link to his channel down below because it is something that if you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. He doesn't post videos all that often, but when they do, they're like an event. I mean, it's a really high quality production, entertaining, a lot of comedy, but then also all the kind of information that you would want to know about a knife that he reviews. So like I said, definitely check him out. But he sent me these two TwoSun knives to do modifications on after he'd seen a CRKT Pilar that I did with like some lizardy kind of reptilian scale etch on it. And so he wanted that kind of etch on his knives and sent them to me. And so here's what we have. Here are the results. And just let me tell you right now, one, my hands are filthy, but two, getting some of the colors and the details just on camera. I've tried filming this a few times already. It has been really difficult. So if I don't capture it as well as you want to see, I'm sorry. As far as the lighting goes, the glare is it's not really good, but it actually has been helping me get a better shot of the etch, especially on this knife. So that's why we're starting with it, just trying to show what we have here. And so with the grind line here, I tried to do like larger scales up high. If you can see where like the light's hitting it up there, and lower and smaller scales down below. And it worked out okay. What I'll talk more about when I get to the other knife is just I really struggled with the lines on these two knives. The nail polish was chipping, and when you have this much detail, and I haven't done etches like this very often, but when you have this much detail and this many lines, the real struggle is to make them all clean enough so that the acid can get through and create that etch. And the reason why I ended up polishing this blade was because the etch didn't get through in a lot of spots. It was extremely patchy, and just by taking that polish high, I brought out some of those lines that were underneath the finish on the knife, and so it makes it look a little bit more consistent because there were a ton of gaps. So yeah, sorry I'm not really able to get that as focused and as clear as I want, but it's definitely there. I'll take some pictures, and hopefully he'll take some pictures when he gets it too. All right, and then the color on the scales, and you can already see that. I just anodized right over this stonewash finish on the knife, like whatever the coating was. I just anodized right over it, and after a lot of heat, I got some nice colors jumping out. And it transitions really nicely, and yeah, there's just like patches of blue and bronze and purple, just really nice coming through that stonewash in places. Came out really cool. And the scales themselves, they started about this color and then they turned black with a lot of heat, and then after that they lightened up again and the color started popping out. So I mean, it took a long while, and I don't know what chemical processes were taking place in order to let that happen, but yeah, it was pretty cool. So that is this knife, polish the hardware as usual, and there we go. All right, the next TwoSun is just an awesome design. Lots of nooks and crannies on this one in the blade, and so with the blade on this one, and you can see some of those gaps, I just decided to stonewash, and it still came out pretty good, but yeah, there are just a couple spots where those lines aren't as clear as you'd like them to be, so a little bit of a bummer there. But again, I think overall the look of the knife is cool, and while I'm not 100% satisfied with the etch, just because again you can see those lines, just a lot of chipping on the nail polish, so I had to take everything off and try to paint again, and it was just a long process. And yeah, there were just some spots where the acid didn't get through. But while that is a bit of a bummer, the scales on this came out really cool, I think. And On this side, you're not going to be able to see the depth of the color, but what I did was I polished up the handle, and then I anodized it, and then I polished a little bit again, just to take some of the color off and to create like a couple layers. So it looks all sort of polished, but then there's bits of purple and blue jumping out at you, which is neat. On this side, you can see this blue stonewash right here. This is the original scale color. All right, so this was like originally, I think it was electrically anodized and then stonewash, something like that. And then with just a ton of heat, I was able to get it to go from that color to like a different blue and then to a green. And so we have some patches of that throughout this scale. This one came out really nice. And then the clip goes from that original blue to a new blue to a green to a purple. So yeah, very cool results there. This is sort of like a futuristic kind of knife, and so to give it a futuristic kind of feel, I think all this stuff worked. You know, there's a lot going on this knife, but there already was with just the design in general. So I think it all comes together pretty well. Polished up the hardware just as usual, and yeah, we are pretty much good to go there. And again, just a really, really smooth knife. Did you see that? I mean, lockup is perfect on this, and it just like falls. So yeah, pretty neat knife, really easy to put back together too. I mean, this is one of those knives, these both are, that if you just saw this knife in pieces and hadn't taken it apart yourself, you'd be able to figure out how to put it back together in no time, because there's not a lot going on. All right, and last but not least, let's talk about this Kershaw Deadline. So if you remember, or maybe you didn't watch, but no worries, when I reviewed the knife, I talked about how the coating just didn't hold up at all. And so I was going to take apart the coating and take it off. And so I did, and polished up the knife a little bit, and that worked out pretty well. And then everyone, well, not everyone, but there were people saying, hey, why don't you anodize the frame? You know, obviously with this like silvery frame, it just begs to be anodized, right? Well, I did that, and the colors came out, and they were a little bit inconsistent, and it was fine. Wasn't anything great. But what I realized was that this PVD coating, if you hit it with enough heat, look at that. Look at the colors that jump off of that. So I had color on the frame here, but then also where all the PVD coating was, I mean, it just gave me these brilliant, like, look, I mean, everything. Every kind of color you could ask for, just on these edges. So it came out really cool, and just having color in both spots, it just didn't work, you know, especially since the PVD coating color on these edges here is so much better. So I ended up just polishing back over the frame and getting back to more of what the normal finish was. And then with the hardware, I sort of like stressed it out, so it was black originally, and polished some of that out. And yeah, we have a new different kind of looking knife. All right, so very cool how that coating just popped with color. I mean, really neat. So yeah, it still works pretty well. Centering's a little bit off, so have to touch that up, but the action is still good, so no worries there. And we've got a cool little knife. I wish they would have just gone satin with the blade to begin with, to be honest with you. So, yeah, these are the new mods. And these will be going out to Everyday City Carry in just another day or two. And yeah, that's really it, guys. So, like I said, I'm going to be right around, I guess, the 9-minute mark now. I'll be starting the end of the video where I have this apart. It's just about a minute long. Shows you the inside of the knife and just how those new features work. All right. So, any other questions, comments, complaints, suggestions? As always, let me know down below. Looking forward to hearing from you. I've got a lot of reviews on the way, a lot of new knives on the way too. So, a lot to talk about as we get towards our holiday giveaway in the holiday season. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care. Have a good one. Alright, guys, I'm about to put this Kershaw Deadline back together, and I just wanted to show you a couple quick things before I do. Most notably, the locking mechanism here, and then also the tuned detent system, the TDS that they advertise, that makes this knife so easy to open and so smooth. Alright, so on this side you can see that there's an insert, and when we get that focus, you can see it's just a steel insert with a detent ball. And on this side, you know, you have the one body screw that connects it, but on the other side there are these two raised bars that lock it in even more, so it is pretty stable and secure, and you've got that easily adjustable detent ball right there. And so, yeah, when they talk about fine-tuning it, they're not talking about like the user getting the knife and being able to adjust the detent. It just means for manufacturing a much easier way of being able to fix everything up and tune it just right in factory with ease, and be able to get you a good quality opening system, you know, at this overseas budget price. So here's the other side, and this is where that whole frame lock discussion from the review comes into play, because we have the same kind of deal on this side, another insert piece that is screwed in and then also has the raised bars on the inside that help lock it in. And you can see you have another ball right there, but this is certainly not a frame lock. You know, this is an inset liner, I'd say, at the most. So yeah, just wanted to show this to you since it was completely apart, so you can get an idea of what that actually looks like on the inside before I put it together. All right, so that's the knife. And so if you did have any questions about that, that is the inner workings of the Deadline. So yeah, cool. Hopefully that was helpful, and yeah, and it'll help educate you if you were wondering how that knife worked. All right, so thanks for sticking around. Have a good one.